The restaurant was packed that evening. The warm glow of chandeliers spilled across the polished tables, and the sound of clinking glasses mixed with bursts of laughter. It was one of those places where people dressed to impress, where wealth and appearances seemed to matter more than kindness. And in the middle of it all, she stood, unsure, uncomfortable, and alone. Her name was Amelia. She wasn't wealthy. She didn't carry designer handbags or wear expensive perfume. She had worked a double shift that day as a cashier, and when her friends insisted she join them for dinner, she agreed, hoping for one evening where she could forget the weight of unpaid bills and long hours. But when she arrived, the table her friends promised was already full. She looked around, embarrassed, clutching her worn handbag close. She scanned the room, searching for a spare chair, just one, but every table seemed occupied by people who pretended not to see her. She approached a couple. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" she asked politely. The man barely looked up from his phone. The woman whispered something with a smirk, and they both shook their heads dismissively. Amelia swallowed her pride and tried another table. This time, a group of businessmen in tailored suits laughed loudly. One of them looked at her with disdain. "Sorry, reserved," he said, though the chair was clearly empty. Her cheeks burned. It wasn't just the rejection, it was the way they looked at her, as if her simple dress and tired face didn't belong in their perfect little world. She felt invisible. And then, just when she was about to leave, heart heavy and eyes stinging, someone stood. From a corner table near the window, a man in plain clothes, a mechanic's jacket, rose to his feet. He wasn't wealthy looking, not polished like the others, but his eyes held something no one else's did, compassion. He walked across the crowded restaurant, ignoring the stares, and gently pulled a chair from his own table. "Here," he said softly. "You don't deserve to be standing. Please, sit." The restaurant fell silent for a moment. The wealthy diners, the businessmen, the couples who had turned her away, they all stared as Amelia's trembling hands reached for the chair. She looked up at him, tears forming in her eyes. No one would let me sit," she whispered. He smiled warmly. "Then they've forgotten what it means to be human. Sit. You're welcome here." Her heart cracked open at that simple act. She sat down, feeling a dignity she thought she had lost. The man returned to his seat across from her, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. They began to talk. His name was Daniel. He wasn't rich. He worked long hours repairing cars to support his younger sister after their parents passed away. He knew what it was like to be overlooked, to be judged by appearances, to feel small in a world that valued wealth over heart. For the first time in months, Amelia laughed. Daniel's stories of late-night shifts at the garage, of burning toast at home, of raising his sister, were real. Honest. He didn't try to impress her with fancy words or grand gestures. Hours passed, and the restaurant began to empty. But Amelia and Daniel stayed, talking like old friends, two souls who had finally been seen. And then came the twist she never expected. As Amelia reached for her purse, fumbling for a few crumpled bills to pay, Daniel stopped her. He handed the waiter a card, an old, slightly bent one, but the waiter's eyes widened. He bowed slightly, treating Daniel with a respect that shocked Amelia. When the bill was settled, Daniel looked back at her with a sheepish smile. "I don't like to mention it, but I'm not just a mechanic. I own the garage chain now. It's small, but it's mine. I worked for years to build it." Amelia blinked, stunned. He wasn't flaunting it. He wasn't trying to impress her. He said it as a matter of fact, almost embarrassed. "I wanted you to know," he continued, "that I didn't pull out that chair because of who I am, but because of who you are. Everyone deserves kindness, Amelia. Especially when the world forgets to give it." Tears slipped down her cheeks as she whispered, "You don't know what that meant to me." He reached across the table, his rough hands covering hers. "Maybe I do. Because once, I was the one standing. And no one pulled out a chair for me." In that moment, Amelia realized she had met someone rare. Not a man defined by money or status, but by the quiet power of compassion. The restaurant that had once made her feel invisible had, by a twist of fate, become the place where she was truly seen. And as she walked out that night, side by side with Daniel, she smiled, a real, unburdened smile, knowing that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can rewrite a person's entire story. Sparkle's closing narration, YouTube style. And so, what began as a humiliating evening turned into a reminder that true kindness never goes unnoticed. The world may look away, but one person's compassion can make all the difference. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because kindness, no matter how small, can change a life.